Minister, since you assumed your office, I know that you have fought tooth and nail for every bit of resource that you can get, material, personnel, the whole lot. You have done your best. But it goes without saying the news coming from Kerry, in the last while, is going to dominate my own contribution here tonight. I'm just off a call with Michael Fitzgerald from the South Kerry, or South-West Hospital Group there about half an hour ago. And the picture that he painted for us and what was contained in the report is quite bleak, obviously. I've listened to what the HSE have had to say, and I can safely say that what happened in Kerry in terms of the provision of CAM services was appalling. The independent review of almost 1,500 children found that 240 young people were adversely affected or as having identified having received deficits in their care. That's an alarming amount of people and a significant percentage of the some 1,500 files that were reviewed. My thoughts tonight are with all those children and all those families who were neglected and adversely affected in a variety of ways. I note that some children received, and I quote, unreliable diagnosis, inappropriate prescriptions and poor monitoring of treatment and potential adverse effects, which expose many children unnecessarily to the risk of significant harm. The report continues that significant harm was caused to 46 children and young people, including weight gain, sedation, elevated blood pressure and galactorrhea. So there has been significant adverse effects on many young people, but not what the HSE have described as catastrophic failings. I'm not sure what the difference is between significant adverse effects and catastrophic failings. If the Minister could ask the HSE what the difference is, I'd appreciate feedback here, as I can only imagine, as a father myself, if my child was misdiagnosed, prescribed incorrect medication with varying side effects and not adequately monitored, I know that I would find this to be a catastrophic breach. In one respect, Minister, I'm glad we have the report, and I'd now like to know what we're going to do to improve the services. I note the 35 recommendations. I read through them all there this evening and hope that they are followed up on. I would implore you to do a quarterly review if possible, just on the progress and in terms of their implementation. I'd also like to note that the HSE have unequivocally apologised, and they have been transparent in the report, and I welcome that, but many questions do remain. Are we confident a clinical lead psychiatrist can actually be hired? The HSE have tried for the Kerry area since 2016 and failed to fill that post. A locum has operated with support to fill the gap, but going forward, if we have failed to fill that post for over 4 years, how confident are we of attracting somebody via normal competition to this post, particularly now since they will have to go in and try and address the situation that is there? I think if we can't fill the post through normal competition, then I think that the HSE need to seriously look at redirecting somebody from some other CHO that is performing adequately and getting in there and rebuilding faith and confidence in the services down there, because without doubt I would imagine that the people in Kerry are questioning the level of service that is there at present. Secondly, and I know that you might be able to speak in relation to the doctor at the centre of all this, but if there is any clarification on, is he still practising, has he been referred to the medical council, is he subject to any type of investigation or disciplinary action, I think that people need to be aware of, the repercussions and the consequences that are there for the person at the centre of all this. Thirdly, in relation to services provided, is the HSE now ploughing resources into this CHO to compensate for years of mistreatment and misdiagnosis? If this is the case, will it have adverse effects or knock-on effects for other adjoining CHOs? As many deputies here will speak tonight, it is quite difficult. The waiting lists are quite lengthy, and I suppose we would be conscious of any potential knock-on effects for adjoining CHOs. And hopefully the Kerry CHO will get the additional resources that it needs. And I hate to use the phrase catch up, but in this case it is catching up, or it has to catch up, because it has failed those 240 young people. And if that is the case, I know that many of those people would have aged out of CAMS and will have possibly progressed on to adult mental health services. And I suppose just to know if the additional resources will also be ploughed into the area of adult mental health in that CHO. And finally, my last remark is just in relation to the Taoiseach's commitment today in relation to a full review across the country. I think it has to be done. I think it's necessary. I know that many of us in our own CHOs have concerns, and I welcome the Taoiseach's words today in that regard, and I'm just hoping and praying that what people are discussing here in relation to Kerry isn't replicated in other parts of the country.